This segment of Delmarva Live is brought to you by State Farm Insurance.
Well, we're focusing on back to school this afternoon. Here's a question for you. How is it possible for a 16-year-old to graduate from college and high school a week apart?
Allow us to introduce you to an exceptional teen on a fast track to success and the woman who's helping her get there.
16-year-old Grace Bush is the youngest graduate at Florida Atlantic University's recent commencement.
And as if that were not enough, she is graduating magna cum laude.
Grace has a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. After completing a dual enrollment program, she got her high school diploma a week later.
The reason I picked criminal justice is because I'm planning on going to law school.
She'll start her master's next month. And none of this is surprising to her mother.
Grace, at 2 years old, was reading. She was always very independent, self-driven.
This is the Bush family portrait. 9 children, 11 months to 19 years old, all homeschooled by Gisela Bush.
I thought that it was a good advantage for me because I had my mom teaching me, and so I was able to excel in the way other kids wouldn't be able to excel my age.
All those smarts run in the family.
I have a law degree, a professional architecture degree.
There are things parents can do to help their gifted students excel even more. First, introduce them to new ideas and areas of study all the time. Audit a local college class, get an internship, sign up for community programs, and volunteer on different projects, all exposing your child to new fields of interest. When your child does find an interest, find ways to nurture it. Contact local museums and look for summer and spring camps focused on it. Gisela says to continue to direct them even when it's difficult. Keep them with like-minded friends and keep encouraging your child. While all the Bush children seem to have special talents, Grace has a monumental goal.
Ultimately, she wants to be the Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court.
A state public university.
Is that not incredible?
That is incredible.
Oh my goodness. Now maybe you're considering a dual enrollment program. You might be exempt from paying application, registration, tuition, and lab fees if the classes taken are being used toward high school graduation.
Wow. Well, once high school is behind you and it's time for college, there's something else you need to consider that could put a hurting on your wallet if you're not careful. In fact, it's something many families may overlook.
Would your college student be protected if something should happen to them at school? Well, joining us today to help clear up any questions that you may have is State Farm Insurance Agent Greg REDDELL of Salisbury. Greg, thank you for coming in.
Hi, Jim.
Boy, is this timely.
Yeah, I know.
I've got a son just graduated high school last year. He's going to college this year. He's not going that far away, but I'm going to use that as a launching point here. If he takes a family car with him to college, gets into a fender bender, is he still going to be covered?
Yeah, the key phrase in the insurance policy, Jimmy, is emancipation. As long as he's unemancipated, the way we interpret that is, as long as he lives with you when he's not at school,
right,
we're going to cover him just like we did at home.
Okay.
All right, and whether they're in high school or in college, if they get good grades, it can really help lower our premium, can it?
Absolutely. Real good incentive to maintain a 3.0 starting at 16 all the way up until 25. As long as they're still in school, Lisa, they get a 10% discount, which buys a lot of cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
And Jimmy, in your case, if your son decided not to take a car to school, right, and left it at home, make sure you call your agent and let them know, because with State Farm's benchmark at 75 miles, if they're more than 75 miles away, we can significantly reduce your insurance rates.
And one thing to know, back to the good grades, if they have a policy of their own, not in addition to, not part of our policy, they get that
absolutely
rate decrease
as long as they're a student.
Wow.
All right, I'm going to do another follow-up question here. So you're telling me that if he doesn't take the car to college, he's at least 75 miles away, you can reduce the rate because he's not driving the car. Is he still covered? He's
still covered. Has all the same coverages, except now he's going to kill me because you're not going to let him take his car.
No, that's true. There's that point. What about personal belongings? What about computers, tablets, things like that?
There's an extension from the homeowner's policy that provides coverages for his personal property away at school. Again, keyword being, does he live with you when he's not in school?
Okay.
Now, liability coverage is extended too, and this is a pet peeve of mine. The homeowner's policy pays only for bodily injury liability. So if he's physically hurt someone, right. It doesn't cover personal injury. And with the good example, libel, slander, defamation, things like that. Think emotional harm.
Right.
And with the advent of social media and kids getting on and saying all sorts of things that they live to regret later on, if someone sues you or him for that, if someone gets a judgment against you and you actually have to pay damages, you have no coverage for that unless you have a personal liability umbrella policy.
Okay.
That's something I would strongly suggest for any parent of a child 16 to 25, that you have a conversation with your agent to make sure you address it.
All right, so let's use my daughter as an example. She went away to college, 600 miles away, and I sent her off with musical instruments, sports equipment, computers. Can I get coverage on that?
Yeah, at least as we talked about, it's extended from the homeowners, but it's very limited. You can get, for a computer as an example, we know how college kids treat laptops. You can get very broad coverage with virtually no deductible or none if you want it that way, very low premium that covers that while they're away at school. It's called a personal articles policy or personal articles floater. See your agent and they can give you some details.
So would that cover the bigger ticket items, like maybe a big screen TV or something like
Absolutely.
that? Take care of that too. Okay.
Not necessarily, but we look at it on a case-by-case basis and see what.
And we really need to keep track of all this stuff so that we have an inventory of what they have.
That's a great idea for anyone. There are professional companies that will come in and literally videotape everything you own right down to the tags on your clothes. But if you don't want to go to that expense and that time commitment, pull out your cell phone. Take some pictures. One of the hardest things for folks after a big fire or if there's been a theft is remembering what was there. That you walk past that 30-year-old lamp so many times you don't even realize it's there. If you have something to jog your memory, it's much easier to do an inventory. Same thing applies for your child away at school.
Okay, so away at school, away from the safety, security of home, we got to make sure they don't let their guard down.
Yeah. I would love if college kids moved out on their own for the first time and they were fully formed and ready to take on the world, but we all know that they don't have that life experience yet we tend to treat them like they do.
Right.
The common sense stuff, lock the doors, don't give your key to someone else, don't post your schedule on the door, that type of thing. We'd think of that intuitively. They don't necessarily, because they've had this cocoon of their room at home where it was all safe and they don't have to worry about that stuff. Well, they go out in the real world and it's there. We can replace the stuff, that's easy. But it's really hard to replace the sense of security and get away from the vulnerability that happens when you're violated by a theft.
So we need to just talk to them before they go.
Let's have a conversation.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
To read more from State Farm Insurance about how to make sure your college student is covered while at school, go to WVOC.com and click on our picture at the top of the page. Well, we're all about school days today, and we've been talking about getting ready for college. Up next on Delmarva Live, Sean Stryker sits down with kids who are preparing to enter their freshman year of college. Why they say their years spent at one Delmarva school have them ready to face the challenges ahead.
Maybe one part of the school days you're feeling challenged about is packing lunches. We're going to be in the kitchen finding out just how fun, healthy, and simple it can be. Delmarva Live will be right back.